Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. Today we step into a question that refuses to stay buried in history. What does faith demand when the world goes dark? Dietrich Bonhoeffer wasn't just a pastor or theologian. He was a man forced to decide whether belief is something you speak or something you risk your life to live. In an era where the German church bent to the political power of Adolf Hitler, Bonhoeffer warned about what he called cheap grace, a faith that comforts without comforting, that forgives without transforming. His theory wasn't abstract theology, it was a challenge. He argued that real discipleship costs something, sometimes reputation, sometimes safety, sometimes everything. But here's the tension that still echoes today. Bonhoeffer, a preacher of peace, became involved in resistance against a regime built on evil. Was that contradiction or conviction? And what does his thinking tell us about modern culture, authority, and moral courage when institutions fail? This episode isn't just a history lesson. It's an exploration of conscience under pressure, the moment when belief stops being an idea and becomes a decision.
Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello, everyone.
I have to say, I loved the beginning of that intro.
That's an actual quote from one of Dietrich Bonhoeffer's essays while he was in prison.
Yeah.
That's it. Look, when I first started reading about some of this stuff, I was actually kind of shocked. When Stoney brought this topic, I knew nothing about this, and I have to say I've enjoyed reading about this particular person and what he came to this conclusion while in prison in Berlin.
Yeah.
So
attention grabbing.
We need to simplify this. Yes, he was a theologian, and he did a lot of work. But the bottom line, the basics to his work is that there's a little bit of evil, there's a little bit of good, and in between it, there's a whole lot of stupid.
Yep.
Now, does that remind you of America today?
We have a lot of things.
Okay, because when I was researching how America is today, his work and Bonhoeffer's theory kept popping up.
Yeah.
There is evil in America. There's a good in America, but there's a whole lot of stupid in America too.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing that he was dealing with in Germany. How did so many people watch and observe while Hitler's evilness and a couple of his evil cronies did all of this stuff, and then not only did they let it happen, some of them even participate in it.
Yeah. I've heard something very similar in recent history about how just imagine like every medieval peasant in that era, like having the ability to like be in contact with everyone and share their opinion. It's like, that's exactly what's going on right now. It's like, there's a lot of people that are just so.
But you see, that's the thing. That's the mob.
Right.
That's what he's talking about. Yeah. When people stop thinking independently and start thinking through the mob lens, that's stupidity. And that's what evil does. It takes advantage of that.
Yep.
And good people are very complacent. Yeah. I got a good life now. I got the house. I got the girlfriend, the beautiful wife. I got the whatever. I got the kids. I got the new truck. I don't really need to stand for anything. So evil's going to stand for it. And then basically stupid people are evil's tool.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening in America today. Because I went about this in a little bit different avenue than Jason did. I went in this comparing and you really can't compare Nazi Germany to America. Yeah. But guess what? We're really not that far off. Look at, we got Christians being killed in America now. The liberal agenda is not only taking Christians and telling them you can't be Christian, you can't worship it, you can't do this in public, you can't pray in public.
Yeah.
Does that sound like early Nazi Germany to anybody? Because it sure does me, because all of a sudden, one day, the Jewish people had freedoms in Germany until Hitler came along. They were citizens. He came in and dismissed and took away their citizenship. That evilness using we need to blame the Jews for what happened to us in World War I.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's your fear. We've talked about how people take advantage of fear in the world and America. Yeah. Okay. So all of a sudden he starts blaming somebody. Okay. So the liberal Democrats and the evil people are now blaming Donald Trump and the MAGA people and the Christian people. Because now the Christian people have come in because the liberal agenda and the wokeism of the liberal agenda needs to point fingers at somebody and say, this is why you're unhappy. This is why your life is the way it is. Here's the blame. And then the mob takes over.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting how he really defined stupidity, because there are a lot of very, very smart people that are stupid.
Well, he said stupidity is not the lack of education or intelligence. It's actually just the willingness to stop thinking for yourself.
Right. And because it's easy. It's easy to not think for yourself, to kind of follow along with the group. And I'm going to tell you, I was listening to a lot of different podcasts regarding this topic, and kind of went into the psychology of the human brain has evolved to be part of the group.
Sure.
It is natural for us. It's, our earliest ancestors, that's how you survive, was through the group.
Okay. But he did not take away the responsibility of the group.
Right.
Okay. He says it's it's your responsibility to make sure what group you're following.
Right.
And one of the things that I kind of came up with in studying this, and if you look at this with the things that are happening in America, stupidity is levels way more dangerous than evil, because think about this. Stupid people can't be reasoned with. Look at all these protests with the way people are screaming and hollering, and you give them a list of facts and they shut up and just argue about something. Shut up, shut up, because they can't be reasoned with, because they've bought into this stupid mentality.
It's groupthink.
Groupthink.
Yeah, it's groupthink.
Okay. Oh, all of a sudden we need to release the Epstein files, until all of a sudden it's showing all the problems in the Democrat Party and their superstars, their actors and singers, and now all of a sudden they're shutting up about the Epstein files. You know?
Because everything now is for Trump or against Trump. That's the new norm. That's how everybody sees the world right now. That's just the lens through which people are interacting with their reality.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying, I've said this before. I fear for the future. I really do, because I don't know how, as a country, we can continue to coexist with each other if you can't even agree on basic fundamentals.
But I don't think we're going to be able to. I really don't. I was reading one of his papers, and obviously stupidity is not a lack of intelligence.
Right.
Hear this. One of his second things that he brought up was that it's a moral and social condition. It happens when people surrender independent thinking to a group or authority. But the key to that is, and look at America today, moral and social condition. Like you said, what if these people would have been able to do this, this, and this with their information? Look at the social construct of America today. It's all social. Facebook, this, that. People putting their stuff out. So now the stupid people are getting even stupider. And it's not, like I said, it's not a lack of intelligence. There's some brilliant freaking people that are Democrats, but they've surrendered their independent thought.
As I said, because it takes less energy to just go along with the group.
Of course.
Our society rewards you for going along with the group. Think about every little thing we do at your work, my work. What do you get rewarded for? How well you follow the rules, right? Anybody that challenges that, what happens?
Yeah.
You're put over there.
Right.
And no one wants to be on an island because it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be on the island.
Yeah.
And not many people have that kind of mental and emotional fortitude to navigate that.
Yeah.
They really don't.
But think about that. Once you're in that group, facts don't matter.
No.
Nobody cares about the facts. Logic doesn't matter. Oh, okay? Evidence doesn't matter. How many times are you bringing evidence to people and they don't care? Defend the group at all costs. We're gonna stand in front of these vehicles. We're gonna spit on policemen, and they repeat slogans. Does that sound familiar? Donald Trump is a racist. If you're a Christian, you're a nationalist. Race, what are they calling Christians now?
Christian nationalists.
Christian nationalists.
Oh, yes, believe me.
Repeat slogans. Ta-da!
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Does this not sound like anything else in history? It sounds like early Germany as Hitler was coming into power.
I definitely listened to some podcasts where they have basically taken this theory and from the left side of the political spectrum and use it as the lens to frame Trump and MAGA, the new National Socialists doing
or the new Nazis.
The new Nazis,
yes.
They're going through, which is it's a complete misrepresentation of what he was witnessing during his life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of baffling, but I do find it interesting that at the heart of this goes back, I really believe, goes back to the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
When he told his apostles, he says, if they hated me, if they hated before me, the exact wording of it, but it basically means you got to pick up your cross and you got to follow me, which means you're probably going to have a very bad life.
Yeah.
Well, look at all the disciples. None of them wound up doing real good.
To me, this
I don't remember one of them being a billionaire.
Kind of importing this into our world. You import this into the time of the rise of Nazi Germany, and there's tons of research on why the Nazis came to power. It probably goes back to the Treaty of Versailles in World War I, and Germany was left destitute. And what happens when you don't take, what the Americans learned at the end of World War II, instead of what happened in World War I, where they just kind of allowed a defeated country to just kind of stew. What did America do after World War II? Was the Marshall Plan. We're going to rebuild Europe. And what did we? We turned once enemies into allies.
Right.
That was what the lesson that was learned from World War I.
Yeah.
And I really believe if at the time, if they would have done something different than what they did at Versailles, probably World War II never even happened. And Hitler doesn't even come to power.
Think about this. Japan and Germany only now have stated that they are going to move beyond the defensive-only capabilities. This is coming in the last couple of weeks. Because of what's going on, because of us rebuilding Japan and rebuilding Germany. Okay, you can only have defensive stuff. And then we're going to help protect you if something comes up. But now that, Donald Trump is pulling out of certain things, which I completely agree with, but I want to offer something to y'all also when we're looking at this as evil, stupid, and good. When man picks a leader, God hates him. When God picks the leader, man hates him.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's very profound.
Think about that.
Yep.
Because right now, even though Donald Trump won by a massive vote, people hate him.
Yep.
Because I believe God picked him, put him here today because that is what needed to happen for the safety of the world. But now, what's his big thing this last week? We are going to rededicate America to God again. That's his big thing right now.
Yeah.
What is, hello?
I think what we're seeing is a redefining of the post-World War II world. I think we're seeing a transformation occur, and I think Rubio's speech at Munich.
Oh yes, was that amazing?
Was just absolute spot on. That America will always be, and I like this term that he used. America will always be a child of Europe, and our heritage, our Christianity, our culture. All come from that continent. We all do. And so America is tied to the hip to Europe. And that's why I think Trump has said, and sometimes in a very direct, sometimes very kind of a, in your face way, he said, guys, I want you to be strong because when you're strong, we're strong, and then we can provide a strong, united front to countries that are truly hostile like China. And I don't think people really understand the threat that country represents. Did y'all see the robots? Did you see the robots that they demonstrated, the nunchuck wielding robots?
I didn't.
They were moving around like people.
Yeah.
If you don't think where we're going right now with AI, and I believe they're probably ahead of us now.
They are ahead of us. I believe that too.
That if you don't think that we're seeing right now what's going on in the world, why you think Trump needs Greenland? We need to secure all these things. There's reasoning. He's thinking 25 years down the road. This is the problem with thinking long term. It's sometimes it's hard for people who are looking for the short term to see that. That's why he says, Europe, you need to spend more of your budget on defense. And you need to back out of the social welfare programs that you've run that completely ruin your countries. And now these open borders are completely destroying your country. I mean, it's crazy. But
that's why, again, there has been an attack on the American family for a long time. Because the American family, Christian American family, is one of the strongest institutions under God in the world.
Well, it is. We are this topic of the groupthink, how human beings never would think of themselves as doing things. But the societal pressure to conform is powerful, especially if there's a cost.
Well, but remember this. Remember, how did Hitler... Okay, they didn't have social media like we have today. What did he have? He had the big buildings. Remember the movies and the reels that came out with the soldiers and the way that you wanted to be part of that. Okay, he's bringing pride back. He's doing this.
Germany was in the doldrums. And people were completely...
It was horrible. And that was, as Bonhoeffer stated, a moral failure. Because people would not stand up for the morals. They wanted to be part of the group. And he never excused the people. He basically said, you're responsible for thinking. You're responsible for resisting the manipulation. You're responsible for seeking the truth. Nobody sought the truth back then. And in America, guess what? We're kind of in those early phases today. Even under pressure. People were under pressure back then. Christians are under pressure today. What are we going to do about it? Where are we going to make the stand?
I just think you have to resist the natural impulses to conform. You always have to think critically. You have to think things through, which especially now in our social media heavy, the algorithms reward the quick response.
Well, you're outsourcing your conscience. You're letting some algorithm dictate your conscience now. Think about that. Everything that we're outsourcing in America today, you're basically just outsourcing your conscience. Let somebody else decide how do I feel today.
Yeah, he's and it's funny that he comes up with this observation while sitting in a prison.
In a prison.
Yeah.
You know, he was executed for resisting Hitler. Did you?
Yeah.
I mean,
he was one of the plotters.
He was one of the plotters.
Matter of fact, I think he was a part of, I don't know if he was a part of the original plot with, what was that German colonel, that Stauffenberger, that Tom Cruise played in that movie.
I don't know if he was or not, but
I don't know if that was the part he was involved with. But there were actually, I think, multiple attempts to assassinate. I think once people kind of saw the madness, I think at that point they were like, Germany's going to be ruined if we don't get rid of this guy and try to get some sanity back.
But that's one of the things that also made Hitler think that he was ordained by God, was he survived multiple assassination attempts. Multiple.
I don't know if he was ordained by
he wasn't. I'm just saying he thought he was indestructible.
I don't even think he believed. I think they
maybe that was a bad way to put it.
Yeah,
he thought he was indestructible.
I just my understanding is they pretty much were pretty much an atheistic regime, and probably practiced what am I thinking?
He was part of
Nordic,
the
Thule Society, and
like
worshiping, worshiping like Odin and Thor, and kind of those kind of things.
Well, maybe that was a bad way to put it. I got brain damage. I mess up.
No,
he thought he was special,
right? He thought he was ordained.
Somehow
he was ordained in some way that and unfortunately, here's a guy that just Hitler wasn't nothing special.
No, he was not very.
No, it was nothing about this, but he was charismatic. He took advantage of a situation, and when you
he gave somebody to blame. He took your fear, he took your dissatisfaction in life, and gave you somebody to blame, and gave you 2 or 3 things that if we do this, this, and this, your life will be better. And people bought into it. The stupidity bought into the evil.
Well, people get desperate, and that's what I'm saying. When people, I often wonder, people say, well, I'd never do that. And I think back during COVID, when fear gripped the population.
Yeah.
Some of the population.
And what were people willing to do? And I'm talking about nationally in the world, not just in our area here, because it was in varying degrees worse in places than other places. So, but what people were willing to accept, that to me was a test. That's a test of the human psyche. So when people say, I would never do something, let me change the parameters of your life. And then all of a sudden, I might do something different now, because everybody wants comfort. Everybody wants security in their life. There's a reason why, generally, if you look at how people vote and what sort of candidates and policies people vote on, why women heavily vote more Democrat. More men vote Republican. There's a reason for that. Women generally looking for what? Security, safety nets, those kind of things. So they gravitate to candidates that generally promise that kind of stuff.
And then never fulfill it. Like, did you see the latest thing from Mondami? I'm going to freeze rents.
Yeah, rent controls. Yeah, those have been...
What just happened yesterday? He said, I'm going to have to raise property taxes 9.95% because my governor is not going to tax the rich.
I think this guy's fixing to crash and burn, be honest
with you. Well, they got 700,000 repeal election votes. So
I think this is what happens when people don't...
do their own research.
What happens, I don't even think it's even research. It's people that don't even bother to go to the polls. They're so disengaged from the civic culture. They just realize that's what happens when these kind of guys can slip in.
Yeah.
And it's just what it is. And then once they kind of rig it and ruin it, it's very hard to reclaim those institutions.
We're getting into that point right
Yeah.
now, because one of the things Bonhoeffer observed under the Nazi regime was highly educated people. And this is what kicks my butt. Highly educated people. I'm not highly educated. I got a lot of street smarts, but they defended absurd policies. Does that sound familiar? They justified cruelty. Does that sound familiar? They repeated propaganda. Hello. And they refused evidence. What does that sound like today? That sounds like every libtard, and I'm not going to say every Democrat, because not every Democrat is a libtard.
Right.
Okay? But when you look at this complete woke agenda with the liberal movement of America,
right,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's their whole plan right there. It's ridiculous that people just, are they lazy? They don't need, evil doesn't need everyone to be convinced. They just need enough people to be compliant.
Look, all it takes is for someone to pitch some ideas and for enough people to latch on to it. Because then what's going to happen, then the pressure's put on the other people who may deep down feel kind of, but I'm just going to go along with the flow. I think that's kind of going on with Hollywood.
We both asked the question, how could the people in Nazi Germany participate in that? What did we just talk about? How long ago was 9/11? New York, we will never forget. You apparently forgot enough to elect a communist Muslim, radical Muslim, as mayor of a city that said, we will never forget. Apparently, never is not as infinite as people think
never
it is.
25 years.
Well,
thank you.
It's a generation.
I know.
It's a generation. So you think about it. If you look at,
that was nice. I like that. Thank you.
If you look at the population of New York when 9/11 happened and what it is now, if you look at the people who voted for Mondami, it's a lot of people who are not native to New York.
Yeah,
I think it was 60%.
Exactly, it was a pretty significant number.
And I bet you go talk to those native New Yorkers now. They're going, I probably should have got out.
Yeah,
and voted.
Exactly.
I bet I'm gonna get out and vote next time.
Yeah, unless they rig the system.
Unless there isn't a next time,
which is possible.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to rig it enough. You just have to put certain people in certain positions, and have them be there to keep things the way.
Well, if you notice, this shutdown, the liberal Democrats are fighting very hard right now to not have voter ID before midterms.
Of course not.
Why do you think that is?
We all know.
We're willing to shut down the government. We're willing to make people suffer. Hello, the cruelty thing I just talked about. What are they willing to do? What did Ocasio-Cortez say? We need to make the working class suffer more to bend them to our will. Exactly. There's a video of her running around saying that in Congress.
Well, because
in the halls of Congress.
That is how you...
That's cruelty.
That is how you get people to buy into certain things. You change the parameters of their life situation. And when ultimately this is the new reality, then I either have choice. I can either go along with it and take care of my family, or I can be on an island. And then the possibility that I don't get taken care of.
Is the risk worth the reward?
There it is.
Well, I would like to state across the world, because we're in, I think, 68 countries across the world now. If I have to be trapped on an island, I would definitely like it to be with Hottie Dr. Miranda, and I'll be okay.
There you go.
Yeah, well, we hope that it doesn't get to that point, but there are attempts right now. I think through these mass immigration, I think what's going on in Europe, they've just lost their countries. I mean, it's just absolutely. I watch these videos of what people are dealing with in these countries. Now it's dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They want to stop you can't walk your dog anymore.
Okay.
Because dogs are unclean.
Okay.
Bitch, walk up and try to stop me from walking my dog and watch what happens.
You got the police now accosting these people about walking their dogs, and they can't walk. And I'm sitting there going, how did you get to this point?
Slowly.
It's the
what
same
happens.
people. Here it is. The same people that were in Nazi Germany. They made some little concessions here. They made, oh, well, my life is okay. I'm still doing this police job. I'm still taking care of. I just got to bend a little bit to this, and then I'll be okay. What if they all stood up and said no?
The problem is that the statistics show that most people are going to go along with the group think.
Mm-hmm.
It is natural. We're programmed to do that. That's why these things, we sit back and go, why can't anything be done?
Yeah.
You wonder why. Mm-hmm. The reality is that's what's going on.
No one wants to be the first one to say or do anything. But the second, 2 or 3 people can do it is when everyone wants to get on board. I've noticed that in my own personal,
exactly.
My own personal work. It's the same sort of thing where it's the second, one person can break the ice and 1 or 2 people can kind of jump in, as when people are like, okay, I can throw my opinion, or I can say something nice in this situation, or I'll join in on this, whatever this activity is.
Or what do you hear about best practices?
Yeah.
We're going to see what's going on and what everybody else is doing, then we're going to do the same. Instead of this same plan, we're going to do it this way because we think this is better.
Because that is what this nation was founded on. The United States of America just because one state feels a certain way, don't mean every state has to feel that way.
Right.
Okay?
No.
And if you don't like what's going here, go move somewhere else.
The states were the laboratories of democracy. That was what the founding fathers...
Never democracy.
Well, the founding fathers, the principles of federalism was that the states, that was that way. There was no one wanted a strong central government. That's why you had that's why you had those arguments in the very early parts of the country between Hamilton and Jefferson and all those guys are saying, and before you got to the U.S. Constitution, you had the Articles of Confederation, and eventually that got scrapped, and then they adopted but it wasn't because it was only because then an individual Bill of Rights was added to it and was amended, but. The reality is the country was set up whereas the states would be because back in the early days, states could have official churches, could have a state-sponsored church, which most of them did.
Well, but see, that was the point. That's where people get it different. They believe the separation of church of state means you can't even have a cross or the 10 Commandments on a courthouse. That's not true. The separation of church of state was, I can't tell you what religion to practice. That's the government. They're restricting the government. They're not restricting Christianity or any other religion.
It's like I've gotten these discussions with people on that topic. I said, at the end of the day, are you being taxed to support a religion?
Yeah.
If you're not, are you being forced to attend a church service?
Right.
If you're not, all this other stuff that we talk about it's just distraction here. The reality is you're free to practice whatever you want to practice. That's the beauty of this country. Now, as a Christian, I would love everybody to be Christian. Mm-hmm. That would be my dream. Right. Everybody would be Christian. But I realize we don't live in a world like that.
Right.
Not everybody wants to be Christian. Some people are atheists. They don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
But that's what this country was founded on. You don't have to. You have the freedom to do. As long as it doesn't hurt somebody else, you have the freedom to do what you want. Now, when you hurt somebody else, that's when it's going to come down. That's when it should come down.
But I really think that the push of kind of what's going on and why in Germany the German Lutheran Church just completely went along with Hitler on this
because it gave them power.
Let's be honest. It's do I want the potential of being executed, put in prison?
Yeah.
Think about that today.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If people truly had the risk of losing everything for attending a service, how many people you think would be in church? Be honest.
Less than you think.
Not many.
Yeah.
Not many at all.
Yep, I agree.
And I'm a firm believer in that. People say, well, no, you would not. You'd be locked up in your house.
No, when the gun is to your head,
I'll go. See, I've been dead for 4 minutes and 37 seconds total, twice. I know what it's like. I'm prepared. I want to be known for two things: my love of Christ and peace, and my love of my wife, Miranda. And hopefully through all of that, one person would get up and say, this man affected my life. I'm ready. I've been ready.
But there's a large percentage, what we're talking about is there's a large percentage of people I don't think are ready.
It takes one person to start.
I know.
Didn't we just say that? So who's it going to be?
But what I'm
who's
saying
it going to be?
Well, I'm saying even with that, even met with the reality of like, even in those circumstances, I mean, yes, I think that you probably would affect a movement, but still, I think it'd be less than what people are currently attending right now.
I agree with that.
If we're talking about a congregation of 100, I think there's going to be
if there was if there was truly a social consequence for doing what you do. This is where this theory comes in, because then, the group think it's like,
is there not a social what just happened with Don Lemon? That's a social consequence. They're showing up in churches harassing people. It's starting. That's the point I am trying to make with this when I brought this idea up. This is the early stages.
And what bothers me is what he did. And now he's got all these followers. So that tells me people that are kind of looking at him going, well, damn, he got all these followers for doing this. Let me go do that.
Yeah.
I foresee that happening more and more.
Again, stupidity.
Yep.
One evil person takes on the stupid people as a tool. Okay? We are in the early stages of the stupidity movement. That's where we are in America, and where the Jews were the less than human and scapegoats in Germany. Guess who the Christians are today in America? We are the scapegoat. We are the Christian nationalist. We are the finger pointing at what we've done.
And I've had a conversation with people that, and I generally have always been curious. What are you afraid of a Christian nationalist? Whatever that invokes in your brain.
Yeah. Why is America the only country that can't be proud to be an American? Russians are proud to be Russians.
I mean, think of it just on a Christian level. What the Christianity, Christ, what he teaches, if that was kind of more baked into the law, what do you oppose?
Do you want to know the answer to that?
What do you oppose? You know what it always comes down to? I'm going to tell you.
The devil.
No,
it comes down to the devil.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about what people give as a reason.
Yes.
When it comes to it, abortion.
Of course. Well, that's okay.
Abortion. Yeah. I hear it over and over and over again.
That is only a tool, okay? That is the mass. That is a tool. The bottom line to it is, I'm going to send you both a video. I think I still have it saved, of a priest in the Satanic Church. Okay? And he said there was only one thing that they were afraid of. He said, we're not afraid of the Buddhists. We're not afraid of the Muslims. We're not afraid of anything except a true Christian, because that's the only one with power. That's why the stupid and the evil hate us. That's why this movement of stupidity is taking the form that it is, because the Christian and the Christian family has the power of Christ and is the most powerful thing in this world. That's why they hate us.
But the thing is,
the abortion thing is just this ideology that they're throwing out there, because these women that have been brainwashed with feminism believe abortion is my right. The day they said that abortion is health care, they destroyed America.
Yeah, it's nothing to
Okay,
do with
it's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
it's the tool that they used.
It's power. It's power,
That's
and
what it is.
unfortunately, if it's viewed. But I'm just saying, in my experience, and what the point I'm trying to get at is, when people bring up this topic of Christian nationalism, it just in my brain, I'm just think of it on a practical level. Mm-hmm. What are you afraid of that word invokes some negative image in your brain? Because obviously it's having some psychological reaction when they hear the term, especially people that are opposed to this. What is it about Christianity that you don't like, that you don't want in the in that would be baked into the law, so to speak? We already have, you can't murder people, right? You can't steal, I mean, you get into some of these other things that this or that or whatever the case may be. It's kind of baffling. So that's what kind of leads me to believe that there is a degree of programming that has occurred, that they have equated Christianity with oppression and evil.
But that starts again from the upper echelon of the education system, teaching people and indoctrinating people to believe and not think for themselves, feminism, et cetera, et cetera. These people don't think for themselves.
Well, yeah, that's true. They don't. I mean,
okay, if it's truly my right in my body, then maybe you would treat your body a little bit better.
Right.
By not sleeping with everybody and having 10 abortions. Now, look, the health care of the mother, the baby, or rape or incest, I'm sorry, I got to believe God can handle that one. But as a form of birth control, I got a problem with it. But this is part of the stupidity and indoctrination of people to destroy the nuclear family in America.
I think that I really believe that the groupthink has really taken hold of our modern political landscape. I see it every day. Everybody's Trump. But eventually Trump's going to be gone. So what's after Trump? I mean, when it's either Rubio or Vance or whoever is Gavin Newsom on the Democratic side, or Cortez or whoever the Democrats choose to push as.
Well, it was going to be Vance and Kirk until they decided to assassinate Kirk.
Yeah, well, I think that was probably and unfortunately, if you look at that guy that killed Charlie Kirk, he was brainwashed into this. He thought Charlie Kirk was spewing evil. Listen, what he said in his statement of why he did what he did. He goes, "There's just some hate that just can't be let go." He had to take action and get rid of it.
But he was also a CIA something, because him and the other assassin both had visited that fort multitude of times. That was a CIA representative fort.
They still haven't figured. They haven't really told us anything about the guy who tried to kill Trump on the first and second time or whatever.
Well, the one at the golf course is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what happened with all that? What happened with the Las Vegas shooter?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what was going on with that deal right there. That's what I'm saying. So it's
but the chief of police of Las Vegas at that time was the chief of police in Hawaii when the everything was burning, and ordered the police not to let people through.
I just think.
Does anybody find that one confusing?
They've got some. I think we have to always be on guard, and trust me, I'm as much as when it comes to the political spectrum, I definitely lean toward the conservative side, but I also want to always be able to think about policies. Is this policy good, or is it bad?
Right.
Let me think about this. If implemented correctly, will this be a good thing, or does this not work very well? And so I look at people that are pushing policies like Mondami's doing in New York, and these things have been tried and they have failed.
Yeah.
They failed
everywhere.
But unfortunately, what did Mondami? What did he appeal to? He appealed to the warmth of collectivism. So what America was founded on was rugged individualism. It was the frontier people, the mom and dad who got in the wagon and went out there and tamed the wilderness. That's what built America. That spirit built America. And they're wanting to appeal to things that people will feel safe and secure, which I understand. Everybody understands because we all crave it. We all want security. We all want stability. I want to be able to know I'm going to get a paycheck every week or two, or I'm going to be able to pay my bills when they come in. My house will always be here. I'll be able to take all these things are kind of natural human inclinations. I can understand how people can be easily tempted and fall into this trap of groupthink and the ability to just simply go along with it because, golly, I don't want to be out there by myself, even though I think some of this stuff is crazy. I can't say anything because, and believe me, I've heard on people on the left and on the right. I'm not going to simply say one side is pure, one side's not. There's darkness in both.
Yeah,
there is. The reality is we have to constantly be aware of the temptation to just go along. We got to be careful with that because it can lead to places where we wake up. It's sort of like the frog boiling in the water, right?
Right. And that's what's happening to us.
We are right now, and I think we need to rediscover that individualism that made America.
I love that.
That individualism responsibly, because I do believe sometimes individualism can be negative too.
But you have the right to be individual.
You know, okay? I think you have to be able to understand that. Okay, yes, I have my freedom of my conscience. I have to be able to perceive the world the way I perceive it and act accordingly. I mean, I don't know how you get around that.
We have to get back into America and understanding and believing that freedom is fragile and that our intellectual discipline is non-negotiable. When you're talking to people and even in arguments, those arguments, one of the things about Charlie Kirk I liked was he was very precision-like in his things. He did things very specifically. Our faith soon is going to require a lot of courage. Who's going to be courageous? And a strong republic requires citizens that think. One of the things that I learned about Bonhoeffer in all of his writings and teachings was he wasn't teaching people to panic. I mean, think about that. He wasn't throwing up his arms. He was trying to, all the things I just listed, have courage. He did all of this stuff in prison, knowing he was fixing to die. Sounds like one of the, Jesus's disciples. A couple of them were in prison. They knew they were going to die. He was trying to say that conscience must stay awake, especially when emotions run high. I mean, think about that right now. Look at the emotion base in America on both sides. I'm not even just going to say one side. On both sides, this emotional base in America is just all over the place. But it only seems like one side can control it to a certain extent. Because you can still, one of the things Jason and I were talking about while Ian was making the coffee, was that you can still somewhat reason with a conservative. Because basically, if a conservative doesn't like what they see on TV, they're going to change the channel. If you see a libtard doesn't like something on TV, they're not going to change the channel. They're going to demand that you cancel it. There's no dealing with that.
I would.
You can't reason with that.
I would think in our modern politics, I mean, if you look at what's going on now, one thing I give the Democrats, they stick together and they generally vote in unison. Republicans generally do not. And I think part of the reason is because as a part of the DNA of what people that make up Republicans, I do believe you find more people that are individuals and think individually.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have as much groupthink
Mm-hmm.
that you have on the Democratic side. I mean, they are united,
Oh, yeah.
and they will vote accordingly.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, they do. And I will say that just real quick on Bonhoeffer, his life, and Stoney, you may have mentioned this, but he did find the Confessing Church. I don't know if our listeners are aware of that, which was a minority within German Protestantism at the time. It says most churches either complied or stayed silent. And it basically said that, statistically speaking, institutions, so this, you project that out, institutions will always lean towards survival over resistance.
Of course.
They will.
Well, it's again, is the risk worth the reward?
And how much, how bought in are you?
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest.
Because you can really turn a blind eye, and this is the thing. And I was going to say something earlier about it before we kind of got a little off the path that we were talking about. Is like, I do feel like there's a reason why I think a lot of the people that we keep talking about right now do have such an emotional reaction towards churches, because I do think that they turn a blind eye towards some. There are some, not all of them, but there are some churches that have done harm to people.
Yes.
There are some groups, some denominations, or some sects, or whatever you want to consider it, that I think have done harm to certain people, and that have definitely ostracized people. And so I think that also may be playing into where that hate comes from. It's not the teachings of Christ or the foundations of morality and Christianity, all the good things about it. It's more so it's the people,
right?
It's the church. I think that is what gets those people get riled up about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing. Like this, I feel like I would imagine that in a situation like we're talking about in Nazi Germany, there's a push to just comply and turn a blind eye to what's going on, and we're going to survive, and we're going to ride this out. And then of course there's a bunch of atrocities in the closet, but we don't open that closet, we don't look in it,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, and hope it just disappears. And so, but that's not how it works. So yeah.
I am. I've often wondered if certain power elements came into play, what exactly would happen?
Yeah.
What would that look like if you get enough people to buy into it?
Yeah. Who would fold?
Who would fold?
Yeah.
There is a very prominent a statement that I find it interesting. It's almost like Bonhoeffer here, but Martin Niemöller. I don't know if y'all aware of him. He was a German Lutheran pastor. Also, he was also imprisoned in concentration camps from 1938 to 1945, and he said something that many of y'all probably have heard.
Okay.
Which I find very interesting because it ties into what Bonhoeffer was saying.
Yeah.
It says, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist.
I have heard this.
Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the Catholics, and I did not speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak for me. So, yeah. So it's something that we always have to be on guard. And people criticize the MAGA people, and I've always said, I mean, I have been very clear about when it's come to my politics, when it comes to Trump, there's a lot about Trump I don't like.
Yeah.
But the reality is, in a political system that we have, this is what you got to vote for.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily focus on the individual.
Right.
I'm going to focus on policies that those particular candidates are going to push.
Yep.
And I may have to kind of turn my head and vote for those people.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Yep.
I'm not crazy about Trump's morality and how his life with strippers and everything else that he did. Him couldn't quote a Bible verse to save his life. But,
okay, but just for question's sake, Does anybody know anything about our founding fathers?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying they're
okay.
good Christians
They weren't
either,
angels.
No.
Okay.
No one's
they
claiming
had
are.
weed farms. Benjamin Franklin was a womanizer going all over Europe. I mean,
and we're not comparing them.
I'm
We're not talking about them.
But you know what? People are people.
You're right.
That's the point I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I think
from a Christian standpoint,
yes.
the criticism that Christians have voted for this guy,
yes.
That's what you hear is, why are you voting for this guy? He's nothing like a Christian.
Yes.
And I'm going, well, what does that tell you about the other side?
Exactly.
What does that tell you about the other side? I
agree with what you're saying because I think I understand what you're talking about. I don't like it when people put on a Christian mask to try and represent two Christians, which I think that has happened throughout a large portion of this country. That there are these quote unquote Christian nationalists that I think they would be called, which are kind of like radical Trump supporters that are also Christians that of course are very much like, hoorah, let's go. And there's some of those kind of people I think are kind of problematic in a way because of the way anyways, we don't have to get into all that, but there are specific teachings about that Christ has given in the Bible, and there are these people that are very much in that camp that I think Trump is like, I'm a Christian just like you, and let's hate all these people. And it's like, okay, hold on, that's not what the Bible says.
When I hear him talk about that, it just kind of like, don't go there.
Yeah, come on, man.
Just don't go there. Look, focus on the policies you want to implement.
Yes.
You're not my savior. You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
You're just a man.
Yes.
As president at this time in history of a country called the United States of America. Yeah. And I think you're the best person to do the job. It doesn't mean I have approved of the life you've lived, that you've lived. But as I said, I prefer you than the other side, because what the other side wants is something completely off the rails.
Yes.
At least with this, I kind of get some semblance of sanity.
Yep.
I do.
I agree.
And so that's how I've always viewed it. So this idea that these MAGA people are, they're just sucking up Trump and this and that and everything else, I'm going, I think you kind of get MAGA wrong on that, because
I think I think that the left has this extreme left, which is probably smaller than we think it is, or maybe bigger now in recent history. But I also think there's this extreme, and I've said this on this podcast before, there's this extreme right as well, which is like that I don't fully agree with either, because it gets in that same kind of, just like this episode is talking about, it gets into a group think, it gets into this kind of they're saying these catchphrases and these things that are just like, okay, but like we're not. Anyways, but a lot of times those are the squeakiest wheels that get the most attention.
I listened to a podcast regarding, it was liberally bent. The guy that was doing it, because I like to listen to both to kind of get perspective on some things.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the election of Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about the shift in evangelical voters at the time. And here you had Carter, an avowed Southern Baptist, taught Sunday school. But he was,
and as dumb as a box of rocks.
And he was the guy that you would think that represents Christianity.
Yeah.
But what did they gravitate toward? They went to a twice divorced Ronald Reagan, so Hollywood socialite, and did that because and he was talking about the switch of the evangelical voter,
right,
from that period to Reagan's camp, and then subsequently beyond that. And because right now there seems to be a crisis within the evangelical, I guess the term evangelical church, regarding the overwhelming, because I believe the percentages are like over 80% voted for Donald Trump.
Oh yeah.
And here you go, that you got the dichotomy. You've got the evangelicals that are professing Jesus Christ.
I know.
Voting for a guy that lived anything like that what Jesus Christ said.
Exactly.
So it's just funny how these dynamics seem to just kind of resurface themselves over time. And
but we all do that, Good Lord, after listening to both of y'all, I hope I never have to do anything where your judgment on me and my past comes into play. Okay? Because this is actually almost offensive.
Really?
Okay, yes, absolutely. Okay, what this man has done, we've all done it. Okay, the funny thing about pointing one finger is you got three more pointing back at you.
You're right, and be careful because you do the same thing.
I'm not judging him. I'm not judging anybody. If you look back
not
at
judging him either.
Bush 2, with the cocaine and the drinking and the womanizing, he should have been the top Democrat elected official because he rolled right into what the Democrats do.
I'm not talking about his past. I'm talking about his current life right now.
What is his current life? He's married to an immigrant. He's a billionaire, and there's been no evidence of him actually ever touching a pussy until he shook Obama's hand.
Right.
Okay, so again, what's he really done? We don't know.
I'm not talking
what's his
about
policies? What's he trying to do for America?
I hesitate to believe that he attends a church service and lives a good Christian life. I could be wrong, and maybe I'm making assumptions.
What's a good Christian life? You are making assumptions.
Okay.
Do I have to attend church to be a Christian? No. Okay, no, we know that there are prayer services in the White House. Okay, we know he has morning prayers. If that's his life, that's his life.
There's a lot of things I'm not going to say on this episode.
I think the point of what people, what I've read and what just kind of heard throughout since really 2016,
right? Since
Trump first came on the scene, was once again you have a large block of Christians voting for someone that didn't quite live the life that what Jesus Christ or what Christians promote as the ideal.
Right.
And I'm not saying, what does that tell me? Is how bad the other side is. That's the problem. Is the other side is so far skewed the other way that I think basically people say, you know what? He may not be what I want ideally.
Yeah.
But I prefer him over the craziness over here.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're going to get.
Yes.
You get the Madamis.
Yeah.
That are just going to screw up everything. That's what your deal is. So that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of research right now within evangelicals regarding their support for what during Reagan and now subsequently Donald Trump, and how that block used to be actually pretty liberal because, I mean, the progressive movement, I mean, you got to go back to the abolition movement with slavery and stuff like that. Those were churches. Those were the evangelicals that were pushing to overturn social norms. That was just the norm of society at that time.
I remember the Ronald Reagan thing, and it was not as evangelical as you think it was. Other than Joe Biden, Jimmy Carter is the worst president ever.
Oh, I'm not saying
people
he's not.
were voting for pride in America.
Right. Yep.
America first.
Yep.
Okay. And we want somebody that people are going to fear and respect instead of everything that Jimmy Carter did.
Right.
He is still the worst president we've ever had. As bad as Joe Biden and Obama was, Jimmy Carter is still the worst president ever.
I would agree.
And enough people had enough. They said, we got to come out. And what happened was the Christians finally said, we're going to have to get together and vote in unison.
Right. Yeah.
That's basically what happened.
Yeah. It was.
I remember that.
It was bad. That's what I'm saying. I said, you vote on policies and how policies are going to ultimately impact me.
Right.
That's what you're voting on. And so that's what I'm saying. But the criticisms that you hear that are directed toward MAGA people that are currently come from the other side is this: y'all are all groupthink, and here y'all promoting to be all these be Christian and everything, and you're voting for a guy that's done blah 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 blah.
Right.
All that does is it tells me that may be true, but it's a lot better than what you're offering. It's a lot better than what you're offering.
Yeah, because they're learning in California and in New York and in Minnesota exactly what some of those leftist policies are doing.
Exactly.
You voted for a rent freeze, and now you got a minimum of a 9.95 property tax increase.
I saw a video the other night. I was scrolling. It was a picture of New York of a sidewalk.
Oh.
Did you see this?
I think I did.
It was covered in human feces.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
It was covered
I did see that.
in human feces. So this is what I'm saying. You talk about groupthink and people that have become so paralyzed that they're unable to address this issue as normal, rational people. They have allowed these tent cities to evolve in their city and think that's being humane. And meanwhile,
it's being cruel. What I talked about earlier, it's allowing to look at Portland. Look at some of these other cities. San Francisco. Back in the 80s, I visited it was gorgeous.
It was a beautiful city.
It was
one of the world's best cities.
It was the fog and the bridge, and God, some of the memories are gone, but I can remember a couple. It was amazing. Now it's crap.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
It is. I saw that and I went. In my own personal life, I've interacted with homeless encampments, and what I've seen, there's nothing like that where I live. But there are plenty of places in large cities where there are tents all over the sidewalks. And because you have people that have bought into this idea that we can't do anything with homeless people, now you can't even call them homeless people. They're unhoused. Yeah. And they got all this terminology now because what have you noticed with these people? Not only you got to adopt the way we think, you got to adopt the language, how you even describe reality.
Right.
You know, something we never gave a thought to. Homeless. Okay.
Yeah.
Generic term. That's offensive.
Well, they used to be hobos.
They're hobos. They jumped to trains.
Because they only had a small amount. But now...
But now it is we've incentive because it goes back to what I'm saying. It's like, how are you allowing this? And it's because of the inability to come together and recognize a problem and collectively deal with the problem.
Well, look at California. They've misplaced $22 billion dealing with homelessness. Do you know how many homes you could build for $22 billion? But where's the money? Oh, but now we need to add another $50 billion to go ahead and fix it.
Well,
sort of like the rail thing. They lost how many billions of dollars for the rail system? About $50 billion, I think. Right. And now they need to add another $150 billion to finish the rail system that they've already lost $50 billion on, to go ahead and start building it so they can mismanage that money too.
Yeah, I just to me, that right there is a perfect example of Bonhoeffer's theory coming into play. The homeless problem, and the inability to deal with this because enough people have said, "Well, we can't do anything about it because it would be inhumane," and so meanwhile, the problem just keeps getting worse. And I think I saw Mandami mention, maybe just not, because I think there were several people that froze to death in the last winter.
Yeah.
And he said, well, maybe allowing people to live in tents and sidewalks is probably not the best social policy to have.
Right.
So I think that's what I'm saying. The powers that be, the people that control these things, enough of them have bought in. And I guarantee you a part of them deep inside are thinking, something not right about this. We can't just allow people to just live out on the streets the way they do.
They're part of the group.
They're part of the group because I don't want to say anything because then I'm going to be ostracized.
That's right.
And I don't want to be ostracized because then I'm not going to get any money and I'm not going to be part of the network and all these other things. So I find it, but that what I saw the other day, I don't know if you've been able to pull it up yet or not.
I think I tried to, but I don't think I found any specific
it was on.
I bet that's one of the things they're removing.
just I mean, when
It was horrible.
I tell
did
you,
see that. It was
it
something.
was all
Yes.
over. You
Yeah.
couldn't even take a step. It
Wow.
was that spread out on the sidewalk.
Wow.
This is what people got to walk
Yeah.
to get to work or shop or whatever the case may be. And then,
But you got to think about it like this. What happened in Nazi Germany with the Jews and the other people? They started these compounds and these camps, and that's how they lived. That's how people were living. And that's starting here in America.
well,
Because they're dehumanizing people. That's what they did to Catholics in Germany. That's what they did to the Jews in Germany. That's what they did to a number of groups of people in Germany.
well, I tell people all the time when it came to Nazi Germany, I said the first victims of the Nazis were other Germans.
Mm-hmm.
There were other Germans
Yeah.
that were a part of the existing political party at the time that was in power prior to the rise of the Weimar Republic, I believe is what, if I'm
Well, they
saying
killed
it
them
right.
all in a couple of nights.
You
They
know,
were
so
just mass
believe me, the
assassinations.
first thing you do is you get rid of your opposition, and then you move into other areas.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like the Democrat Party today, just trying to remove their opposition, huh?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have absolutely no faith right now. I have not seen a single supposed leader on that side of the political spectrum that does not appeal to me at all. I see nothing but disaster written all over their faces. I mean, that speech that Alexander Cortez said in Munich, she completely embarrassed herself.
My favorite one was where he said, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just popped in my head when Rubio said that our cowboys originated in Spain.
Which they did.
She didn't even know that they're the ones who brought the
horses.
freaking horses over here.
Right.
Yes, the Mexicans had but that was all kind of one little area right there. And we do owe our cowboys to Spain.
That's what I'm saying. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They didn't even really call her out on that, but that just shows you the political.
She's being called out on it by everybody else.
Bias, right now of how the media covers. Because believe me, anytime Trump says anything somewhat bombastic, it's blah 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 blah. It's just what it is. So that's what I'm saying. Groupthink. We're all trapped in right now, and I think heavily it's on the Democratic side. I don't mean to be kind of one sided on that.
Don't want to be tribal. Don't want to be tribal.
But
right?
my experience is I do believe that Democrats generally operate in groupthink more than Republicans do. Because I believe what people that make up, in essence, people who vote Republican generally fall in three groups. You got basically the kind of the establishment type, business type people, especially in the defense industry. You've got evangelicals and religious people, and then you got libertarians. Generally vote conservative. That's just kind of how, not to say there's not some crossover, but generally those kind of people make up the Republican Party. And within that, there's a lot of individualized thinking.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think Mondami said it best. He described the two parties best. We're going to get away from the rugged individualism and find the comfort. How did he say? What was the
comfort of warm collectivism.
Well, that's really the Republican and the Democrat parties right now.
Yeah,
okay, all the Republicans and conservatives are truly just individuals. I want to take care of my family. I want to have my four walls. I want to ride my truck or car, go to work. I want to take care of my family, take care of the people around me.
Yep.
Because that's who's important to you. And then this other stuff is the warmth of collectivism.
Right. We're going to take care of you forever. And believe me, that's appealing for a lot, especially a lot of young people that have very, insecure futures, and I can't buy a house, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can understand. You're going to pay off my student loan. Yeah, that's more power to you. That's who I'm voting for. It's once again, it's who's going to take care of me. That's what we have turned into, really kind of starting in the 60s, and it's now kind of really created a monster that I don't think originally that was. I mean, if you pluck somebody, from World War II into today,
Right.
they'd be like, it's a completely different world. It is a completely, and I have a feeling in another 80 years, it's going to be a completely different world too. Because I think AI is going to take over everything, and machines are going to.
They already got the robots.
Machines are going to take over everything. After what I saw what China did, I tell you what, it made me start thinking a lot more short term than long term. Because if they're that advanced now, can you imagine what another 25 years is going to be?
And that's just, well, think about that. That's just what they're willing to show us. That's just what they're willing to show us.
Yeah.
What do you think's going behind?
I'm not saying I don't know what the U.S. has, but I that right there, kind of my hair stood up a little bit on that one. I really, I believe.
Wait, what?
What little I have, it made my hair stand up, and I was like, it's not going to be the government. It's going to be the AI that's going to take care of you. The machine is going to think for you. It's going to make your decisions. It's going to create. It's going to do everything for you.
It's already.
Well, it's going to be like the Jetsons, the maid. It was the gardeners.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to do anything.
I'm telling you, I know Elon Musk. I heard him talking about it. Regarding you need to do away with the retirement. Basically, there was no such thing as retirement, and most AI is going to take over a lot of white collar jobs, and it's like, what are people going to do, and what's going to give me purpose, and what's the reason to wake up in the morning, and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe it might lead to an awakening or something like that, or it can go dark. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I think we have to just always be aware of the danger of understanding our natural impulses is to be a part of the group, to not be alone, to be taken care of, to have our needs met. That is normal, and that is the way we have evolved as human beings. But there are certain elements that can take advantage of that. And unfortunately, it happened in Nazi Germany. I believe it happened in Stalinist Russia. Germany gets a lot of criticism, and but it happened in China with the communist takeover in China. I've read about what the communists did to the population, sending to re-education camps, having families turn their kids in, having kids turn their mamas and dads in. Unfortunately, I was reading an article in England. I saw there was a deal where a parents called the police on their kid for posting some stuff on the internet. This is where we're at right now. I mean, the George Orwell's 1984 is more of a reality than we think. And if we're not very careful, I mean, that we can easily, because trust me, the Democrats are going all out to win 2020, the midterms, and they're going to go all out to win 2028. I could tell you they're going to do whatever they have to do to win.
Oh, there will be record dead people voting. You can be assured of that.
Yeah, it is a sad commentary of where we're at as a country right now. That I hope that there are leaders like Rubio and Vance, whoever else on the Republican side, and I would hope that the Democrat side will get actually some sense, because I if you look at polling within Democrats, they preferred actually more of a moderate candidate. The problem is that ain't what's running their party anymore.
No.
It's not. So be careful about groupthink.
Yeah.
It can lead to a lot of bad things.
We've been I think we mentioned it last week that we're going to be looking for emails and personal recollections from Delta Utilities.
Yes.
And so you still have one more week for that.
I think that's going to be an interesting
podcast
right there.
So if you're looking to give us your real world experiences on how you feel about that in the local area, you can let us know in the comment section or on our email address, getoffendedtogether@gmail.com. Those are the easiest ways to get in contact with us and let us know what you think. Be sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, because it really means a lot. And
helps us out.
It does.
Helps us out a lot.
And share it with someone that you feel like would mesh with this one, because it's probably going to be one of those that, it's going to be a bit, it's probably going to be a bit divisive. But until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone, and God bless.
Fear is powerful. It sells. It mobilizes. It unites crowds quickly. But fear is also the fastest way to surrender independent thought. Bonhoeffer understood that. That's why his warning wasn't political first. It was spiritual. When fear drives the culture, people cling to certainty. And when certainty is offered by power, crowds form. When crowds form, conscience can get drowned out. But here's the challenge. If you're a believer, your faith should make you steadier, not louder. If you're a citizen, your patriotism should make you thoughtful, not tribal. America does not need any more panic. It needs more principled courage. Freedom survives when citizens refuse to let fear dictate their thinking. Faith without courage becomes silent. Courage without wisdom becomes reckless. But faith anchored in truth, that can be very stabilizing. Stay courageous, stay thinking, and stay grounded. Because freedom isn't preserved by courage. It's preserved by people who refuse to surrender their mind or their conscience. Thank you for hanging out with us today. You're the best. Peace.